Listen carefully. What I am about to share is not for everyone. This message is urgent, sacred, and meant only for God's chosen ones. If you are not walking the divine path, if your heart is not aligned with God, I ask you respectfully to leave now. This is not curiosity content. This is confirmation. And only those who are truly chosen will stay and listen to every word. If you are still here, understand this clearly. This message has reached you at the exact moment your soul needed it. Not early, not late, right on time. God does nothing by accident. You didn't click this video randomly. You were led here. Chosen one, you carry spiritual gifts that once rested on the prophets of old. The same God who spoke through them is still speaking today, and He has placed something powerful within you. This message is God reminding you of who you truly are. Stay with me till the end, because what I will reveal today will bring clarity, peace, and strength to your spirit. It will answer questions you've been carrying silently for years. Before we continue, chosen ones, give a like to this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tap the bell icon and share this message with other chosen ones so they don't miss their divine confirmation. And comment 777 in the comments to declare that you are aligned with God's purpose and ready to receive what He has placed inside you. The hidden lineage of the chosen one. Let me speak to you plainly now. What you are experiencing did not begin with you. Your journey did not start the day you were born, and it will not end with you either. There is a hidden lineage flowing through your spirit, and once you understand this, many unanswered questions in your life will finally make sense. God has always worked through a remnant, never through the crowd, never through the popular, never through those who seek comfort over truth. From the very beginning, He selected a few and placed His hand upon them quietly, not loudly, not for show, but with purpose. You are part of that same spiritual line. When you read about the prophets in Scripture, many people imagine them as larger-than-life figures, almost untouchable. But that is not the truth. They were ordinary people who felt deeply, struggled intensely, and carried burdens most could not handle. They were misunderstood, isolated, questioned, and often rejected. Sound familiar? The same God who set Jeremiah apart before he was formed in the womb is the God who has been shaping you from the shadows. The same God who spoke to Elijah in isolation is the God who has been speaking to you in quiet moments when no one else was around. God does not repeat Himself, but He does repeat patterns. And the pattern of the chosen has never changed. From an early age, many chosen ones feel different. Not better, just different. You noticed things others ignored. You felt emotions more deeply. You questioned systems, motives, and behaviors that everyone else accepted without thought. While others were content to blend in, something in you resisted conformity. That wasn't rebellion. That was discernment being activated early. You may have felt like you never fully belonged anywhere, too spiritual for the world, but too deep for shallow faith, too honest for social masks, but too reserved to explain yourself. This inner tension is not confusion. It is the mark of someone set apart. Let me tell you something important. Isolation is not a curse for the chosen. It is a classroom. God often removes distractions so He can speak clearly. The prophets were rarely surrounded by crowds when God revealed truth to them. They were alone, listening, wrestling, growing. You see, God does not place spiritual weight on fragile foundations. He builds depth before He gives direction. And depth is formed in solitude, in disappointment, in seasons where nothing makes sense but your spirit keeps pressing forward anyway. Many of you have asked God, why me? Why do I see things others don't? Why do I feel things so strongly? Why does truth disturb me when lies comfort others? And God's answer has always been the same, because you were never meant to live asleep. The lineage of the chosen is not about status. It is about responsibility. It is about being able to stand in truth, even when it costs you relationships. It is about hearing God's voice when everyone else is distracted by noise, It is about carrying light into places where darkness has been normalized. This is why your life has unfolded differently. This is why your path seems harder, slower, and lonelier. God entrusted you with something sacred, and sacred things are always protected, refined, and tested. The prophets didn't wake up one day and suddenly become vessels of God. They were shaped through years of preparation that looked nothing like success. Their obedience was forged through discomfort. Their authority was built in humility. And you, chosen one, are no different. Your sensitivity is not weakness. It is spiritual awareness. Your questioning mind is not doubt. It is discernment. Your discomfort with superficial living is not arrogance. It is alignment with truth. You are not broken for feeling out of place. You are positioned. Understand this deeply. God does not choose people because they are strong. He makes them strong because He has chosen them. The lineage you belong to has always been hidden, quiet and powerful, not loud, not celebrated, but deeply effective. The world may not recognize your calling yet, and that is intentional. Premature exposure destroys unseasoned vessels. God protects what He plans to use. If your life feels like a series of unexplained delays, interruptions, and redirections, it is because God is guarding the assignment within you. He is not withholding. He is preserving. You are not late. You are not behind. You are being prepared. And once you accept this truth, once you stop comparing your journey to others and start honoring the depth God has placed within you, peace will begin to settle in your spirit. Not because everything becomes easy, but because everything finally makes sense. You are part of a hidden lineage, chosen, refined, and guided by God Himself. And this is only the beginning of your understanding. Take a breath. Let that truth settle. And when you're ready, we will go deeper. Chosen one, let me add this layer gently because it matters more than you realize. Many of you have tried to explain yourselves to people who were never meant to understand you. You lowered your voice, softened your convictions, and questioned your own spiritual experiences just to fit into spaces God never designed for you. That inner conflict drained you, not because you were wrong, but because you were carrying truth in rooms built on comfort and compromise. The prophets faced the same struggle. They were not rejected because they were false. They were rejected because they were early. Truth always arrives before it is welcomed, and those chosen to carry it often suffer the loneliness of being ahead of time. This is why God has been teaching you silence, not to suppress you, but to protect you. Not everyone deserves access to your spirit. Not every environment can sustain what God is growing within you. Discernment is learning when to speak and when to remain still. So if you have felt misunderstood, overlooked, or even ignored, understand this. God has been narrowing your circle intentionally. He removes noise so that His voice becomes unmistakable. He removes crowds so that your identity does not become dependent on approval. You were never meant to be explained. You were meant to be revealed at the right time, in the right season, for the right purpose. Spiritual gifts are not titles. They are burdens. Chosen one, I need you to hear this clearly because many people misunderstand this part and it creates confusion in their spirit. Spiritual gifts were never meant to elevate your ego. They were never meant to give you a title, a platform, or applause. In God's kingdom, gifts are not rewards. They are responsibilities. And responsibility always carries weight. The prophets of old did not walk around announcing who they were. In fact, many of them tried to run from their calling. Moses questioned his ability. Jeremiah felt too young. Jonah ran in the opposite direction. Why? Because they understood something most people today ignore. When God places a gift on you, He also places a burden with it. You feel deeply because you were designed to. You sense shifts in people's energy, intentions, and motives because God trained your spirit to discern. You carry concern for others that sometimes feels overwhelming because intercession is built into your nature. This is not emotional instability. This is spiritual sensitivity. And sensitivity, when guided by God, is strength. Let me say something that may bring you relief. If you feel tired in your soul, you are not weak. You are carrying something heavy. Many chosen ones feel exhausted even when they are physically rested. That exhaustion comes from carrying awareness others don't have. You see truth. You sense danger. You feel injustice. And you cannot unsee what God has allowed you to see. The world celebrates loud confidence, but God often chooses quiet endurance. He gives spiritual gifts to those who can sit with discomfort, who can wrestle with truth, who can feel pain without becoming bitter. That's why your heart feels tender even after disappointment. God preserved it that way. Spiritual gifts sharpen through pressure. Just like muscles strengthen under resistance, discernment grows through testing. This is why you've been placed in situations where people disappointed you, lied to you, or misunderstood you. Each experience refined your ability to see beyond words into intentions. Many of you struggled with guilt for pulling away from people. You wondered why you couldn't tolerate certain conversations, environments, or behaviors anymore. That is not arrogance. That is alignment. When God sharpens discernment, tolerance for spiritual noise decreases. You were never meant to carry everyone. You were meant to carry truth. And truth has weight. The prophets were not celebrated in their time. Many were mocked, rejected, ignored, or even persecuted. Yet God trusted them with his voice. Why? Because they valued obedience over approval, and that lesson is being etched into your life now. You may have noticed that comfort has been removed repeatedly. Just when things felt stable, something shifted. A relationship ended. A plan collapsed. A door closed. This is not God being cruel. This is God preventing you from settling into environments that would dull your spirit. Spiritual gifts become dangerous when comfort becomes priority. God disrupts comfort to keep the gift alive. Let me be very honest with you. If you were chosen for applause, your path would have been easier. If you were chosen for validation, you would fit in more. But you were chosen for impact, and impact always costs something. Your gift is not meant to be understood by everyone. It is meant to be stewarded carefully. That is why God teaches chosen ones humility early. Pride would destroy the assignment. So he allows seasons where you feel unseen, not forgotten, hidden. There is a reason you are drawn to silence, a reason noise overwhelms you, a reason shallow conversations drain you. Your spirit is tuned to depth, and depth cannot survive in constant chaos. Many chosen ones confuse their burden with depression. But sadness that comes from seeing truth is different from hopelessness. God is not draining you. He is strengthening your capacity. This is why prayer feels natural to you even when you struggle to explain it. This is why you feel peace after surrender even if nothing externally changes. This is why your spirit resists compromise, even when compromise would make life easier. Your gift is not meant to impress, it is meant to serve. And service requires sacrifice. The burden you carry will not crush you. God never gives weight without giving strength, but he will stretch you. He will teach you restraint. He will teach you patience. He will teach you obedience without explanation. You are learning how to carry spiritual authority without announcing it. That is true power. So if you ever wondered why your journey feels heavier than others, now you know. You are carrying something sacred, something ancient, something alive. And God trusts you with it. Take another breath. You are not failing. You are being formed. Let me go even deeper here because this is where many chosen ones silently struggle. There were moments when you wished you could turn it off. Moments when you prayed to feel less, see less, care less. You watched others move on easily, forget quickly, and sleep peacefully, while your mind kept processing, discerning, and searching for meaning. That wasn't weakness. That was the weight of awareness. God never gave you the option of spiritual numbness, because numbness would disconnect you from your assignment. He wired you to feel truth even when it hurts. And yes, that means you've cried over things others laughed at. You've walked away from paths others celebrated. You've chosen peace over popularity more times than you can count. This burden also explains why shortcuts never worked for you. Every time you tried to force something, it collapsed. Every time you ignored your inner knowing, consequences followed. God disciplines his vessels differently. He corrects quickly because the assignment is sensitive. So if life felt strict with you, if consequences came faster, if inner conviction was louder, Understand this. God holds you to a higher standard because He has entrusted you with more. You are not being punished. You are being preserved. And one day, you will thank God for every weight that kept you aligned when comfort tried to pull you off course. Why your life has been unusually difficult. Chosen one, I want you to sit with me for a moment and breathe. This part of the message requires honesty, not denial. Because if we are going to heal, we must first name what you've been carrying. Your life has not been easy, not emotionally, not mentally, not spiritually, and pretending otherwise only deepens the wound. You have lived through things that forced you to mature early, situations that demanded strength before you understood what strength was. While others were sheltered, you were exposed. While others were guided gently, you were pushed into learning the hard way. And many nights you asked God silently why your road felt so much heavier than everyone else's. Here is the truth that brings clarity. God did not make your life difficult to punish you. He allowed difficulty to prepare you. God does not refine what He does not plan to use. The pressure you experienced was not random. It was intentional. The intensity of your challenges has always matched the depth of what God placed inside you. Easy paths do not produce spiritual authority. Comfort does not create discernment. Fire does. From early on, rejection followed you. Not because you lacked value, but because you carried depth others were not ready to handle. People misunderstood your intentions. They misread your silence. They questioned your heart. And each time, you felt the sting of being unseen. But those moments trained your spirit to stop seeking validation from people who could never see you clearly. Betrayal played a role too. Trust was broken in ways that forced you to confront reality instead of fantasy. People you believed in disappointed you. Promises were made and then abandoned. And while that hurt deeply, it also sharpened your discernment. You learned that words without alignment are empty. You learned to watch actions instead of listening to explanations. Many chosen ones experience betrayal early in life because discernment develops faster under pressure. God exposes you to human weakness so you stop romanticizing people and start anchoring your trust in Him. What felt like loss was actually education. Your delays were another source of pain. You watched others advance while you felt stuck. Doors opened for them while yours stayed shut. And you wondered if you were doing something wrong. But delays are not denials when God is involved. God withheld certain things because receiving them too early would have damaged you. Some environments would have fed your ego but starved your spirit. There were moments when everything collapsed at once. Relationships ended. Plans fell apart. Confidence disappeared. Direction blurred. It felt like chaos. But what you experienced was pruning. God removes what no longer serves the assignment. And pruning always feels violent before it feels freeing. Isolation followed. Seasons where your phone stayed silent, where companionship was scarce, where you felt alone even when surrounded by people. That isolation was not rejection, it was protection. God separates before He elevates. He isolates to increase clarity. Distraction is dangerous when a calling is forming. Some of your loneliest seasons became your most spiritually productive ones. That's when your prayer life deepened. That's when your inner voice became clearer. That's when you learned to sit with God without needing noise to fill the space. Solitude taught you who you were without external validation. You also faced spiritual resistance early. Fear, confusion, heaviness, self-doubt. Not because you were weak, but because darkness recognizes light. When you carry something valuable, opposition increases. The enemy attacks what threatens his territory, and you threatened it simply by existing. There were times you felt like you were constantly starting over. Just when momentum built, something reset. This was not sabotage. This was foundation work. God refused to let you build on unstable ground. Anything built too quickly would not survive where He is taking you. Your emotional pain taught you empathy. You can sense when others are hurting even when they don't speak. Your financial struggles taught you humility and dependence. You learned that provision is not always immediate, but it is always intentional. Your unanswered prayers taught you trust. You learned that silence does not mean absence. Nothing you endured was wasted. The chosen are not spared suffering. They are shaped by it. There were moments when you wanted to give up, moments when you questioned your faith, moments when you felt tired of being strong, and yet you are still here. That is not coincidence. That is grace. God sustained you when you had no strength left. The reason you survived what should have broken you is because divine support carried you through. If you feel older than your years, it is because wisdom grows in fire. If you feel tired but still hopeful, it is because endurance has been carved into your spirit. You are not weak for feeling exhausted. You are strong for still believing. One day, you will look back and see how every closed door redirected you, how every loss refined you, how every hardship strengthened your authority. You will understand that your pain was not meaningless. It was preparation. Your life was difficult because your assignment is weighty, and God never gives heavy assignments to fragile souls. You are still here, still standing, still seeking truth. That alone proves you were never meant to break. The prophetic mind, how God speaks to you. Chosen one, this is where many of you have struggled silently, not because God isn't speaking, but because you were never taught how to recognize His voice within you. You were taught to look outward, to wait for signs, confirmations, or permission. But God has been speaking to you in a way that is deeply personal, subtle, and powerful. The prophetic mind does not operate like the logical mind of the world. It does not need constant proof. It does not rush to conclusions. It listens, it senses, it discerns, and most of the time it knows before it can explain. God does not always speak to chosen ones through thunder or dramatic moments. Often, He speaks through inner knowing, a quiet awareness that rises without effort, a conviction that settles without fear. You didn't reason your way into it. You didn't imagine it. You simply knew. Many of you doubted yourselves because you could not explain how you knew things. You sensed danger before it appeared. You felt when someone's intentions were not pure, even when their words sounded perfect. You felt uneasy in places that looked safe. And later, time proved you right. This is not coincidence. This is discernment. God speaks to the chosen through patterns, impressions, and spiritual nudges. He guides you through discomfort and peace. When something is misaligned, your spirit becomes restless. When something is right, peace settles in even if the path is challenging. That peace is not excitement. It is alignment. Dreams are another way God speaks to many of you. Not every dream is prophetic, but some carry weight. You wake up feeling that something mattered. Symbols linger. Emotions stay. God uses dreams because your mind is quiet there. Ego rests. Fear loosens its grip. And truth slips in gently. You've also noticed that silence speaks loudly to you. When the world gets quiet, your spirit becomes active. Thoughts sharpen. Insight flows. This is why noise drains you. Your spirit was not designed for constant stimulation. It was designed for depth. Many chosen ones struggle with self-doubt because their guidance doesn't sound like the world's voice. The world shouts. God whispers. The world pressures. God nudges. The world demands speed. God values timing. You learned early that forcing things never worked. Every time you ignored your inner knowing, consequences followed quickly. Not because God was angry, but because He was training you to trust discernment. Correction came fast because the assignment is sensitive. This is also why guilt feels heavier for you. Conviction arrives quickly. You cannot sit comfortably in misalignment. That discomfort is not condemnation. It is guidance. God redirects chosen ones internally before He corrects externally. Let me tell you something important. Discernment grows with obedience. The more you honor what you sense, the clearer it becomes. The more you ignore it, the louder the lessons get. God is patient, but He is intentional. Many of you questioned whether your thoughts were from God or from your own mind. That confusion is part of development. Discernment matures through testing. God allows small confirmations to build trust. Over time, you learn the difference between fear-driven thoughts and truth-driven clarity. Fear is loud, urgent, and anxious. God's voice is firm, calm, and steady. Even when he warns, peace accompanies it. Even when he corrects, clarity follows. Your emotional intelligence is part of your prophetic gift. You feel atmospheres, you sense shifts. You can walk into a room and know when something is off. This is spiritual awareness, not overthinking. You are designed to read what others miss. This is why shallow conversations exhaust you. Not because you are arrogant, but because your spirit longs for substance. Depth nourishes you. Truth grounds you. Pretending drains you. God also speaks to you through resistance. When doors close repeatedly, it is not rejection, it is redirection. When your spirit resists a path that looks good on paper, it is protection. God values alignment over appearance. Many chosen ones feel guilty for walking away from opportunities others would celebrate. But obedience often looks like loss before it looks like wisdom. God sees consequences you cannot yet see. The prophetic mind also feels time differently. You sense seasons shifting before evidence appears. You feel endings before others notice change. You feel beginnings forming quietly before they manifest. This awareness can feel heavy. That's why patience is essential. God never rushes revelation. He unfolds it layer by layer. And you are learning to trust the process, not just the outcome. Prayer for you is not performance. It is alignment. Even when words fail, surrender speaks. God hears intention more than language. Silence with God is still communication. You are not broken for thinking deeply. You are not unstable for feeling intensely. You are not lost for questioning surface-level answers. You were built to search for truth, not comfort. Your prophetic mind is not meant to impress others. It is meant to guide you faithfully. Authority comes from obedience, not explanation. You don't need to convince anyone of what God has shown you. Truth does not require validation. The more you stop doubting yourself, the clearer God's guidance becomes. Not because you become perfect, but because trust deepens. God is not confusing you, he is training you. And as you learn to sit still, listen carefully, and move when peace leads, you will realize something powerful. God has been speaking to you all along. You just needed permission to trust what he already placed inside you. Take a breath. You are not imagining this. You are awakening to it. Let me add something here that will calm your spirit, because many chosen ones quietly worry about this. There were times when you thought something was wrong with you because your mind never truly rested. Even in stillness, insight flowed. Even in calm moments, awareness remained. You wondered why you couldn't simply switch off like others, why your thoughts carried depth instead of distraction, why your spirit stayed alert even when your body was tired. That is because God wired your mind as a watchtower, not a resting place. A watchtower stays awake so others can sleep. And while that responsibility feels heavy at times, it also means you were entrusted with sight. You were never meant to consume life passively. You were meant to observe, discern, and respond with wisdom. This is why impulsive decisions never sat well with you. Even when tempted, something inside paused you. That pause was not fear, it was foresight. Many of you felt frustrated because you sensed outcomes before they happened, but were powerless to stop them. You saw relationships ending before they collapsed. You felt warning signs before mistakes were made, and when you spoke up, you were often ignored. That pain taught you restraint. God was teaching you when to speak and when to remain silent. Prophetic awareness without wisdom leads to burnout. So God trained you through disappointment. He taught you that not every revelation requires your involvement. Some things are shown to you simply so you learn trust. This is also why emotional regulation became important in your life. You learned to sit with discomfort without reacting. You learned that reacting quickly clouds discernment. Stillness sharpens it. You may have noticed that when you stopped forcing clarity, clarity came. When you released control, direction appeared. God does not shout over anxiety. He speaks clearly in surrender. Your mind is not restless, it is receptive, and learning to steward that receptivity is part of your calling. Rest for you does not mean emptiness, it means alignment. When your thoughts align with God's pace, peace settles naturally. So if you ever feared that your mind was too much, too deep, or too intense, let that fear dissolve now. God knew exactly what he was doing when he shaped you this way. You don't need to become quieter inside. You need to become more grounded. And as you do, the prophetic clarity you carry will stop feeling overwhelming and start feeling like guidance. You are not losing control of your mind. You are learning to lead it. Why you were never meant to fit in. Chosen one, this truth may sting at first, but it will also set you free. You were never designed to fit in. Not socially, not emotionally, not spiritually. And the sooner you stop trying to blend into spaces God never called you to, the lighter your spirit will feel. From early on, you sensed it. You could be in a room full of people and still feel separate, not superior, not inferior, just apart. Conversations felt shallow. Laughter felt forced. Values felt misaligned. And you wondered why connection seemed so effortless for others but so draining for you. This was not a flaw in you. This was design. God has never used crowds to protect truth. He uses separation. The prophets were always outsiders, not because they were rebellious, but because they carried clarity in a world comfortable with confusion. Fitting in would have required compromise, and compromise dulls spiritual authority. You tried, though. You adjusted your tone. You softened your convictions. You ignored your discernment just to belong, and every time you did, something inside you grew uneasy. You felt restless, irritable, tired. That wasn't arrogance. That was your spirit rejecting misalignment. Belonging should not cost you your integrity. Many chosen ones struggle with people-pleasing, especially early in life. You wanted harmony. You wanted peace. You wanted to be understood. But peace built on self-betrayal never lasts. God allowed discomfort to rise every time you tried to shrink yourself so that you would eventually stop. You were never meant to be accessible to everyone. God limits access to protect the assignment. This is why friendships fell apart when you started growing. This is why certain relationships could not follow you into deeper seasons. It wasn't personal, it was positional. As you matured spiritually, your tolerance for misalignment decreased. Things you once overlooked began to irritate you. Behaviors you once excused started draining you. That shift was not judgment, it was clarity. Chosen ones often lose friends not because they changed, but because they stopped pretending. God does not call you to isolation forever, but he does call you to discernment always. Not everyone deserves proximity. Not everyone who likes you is aligned with you, and not everyone who is familiar with you is assigned to you. This is why your circle keeps shrinking. God is refining it. You may have noticed that whenever you tried to force belonging, chaos followed. Drama increased. Confusion grew. Peace disappeared. But when you honored your inner knowing and stepped back, calm returned. That is God teaching you to trust alignment over attachment. Let me say this clearly. You are not hard to love. You are deep to understand. And depth intimidates people who prefer surface-level connection. Many people are uncomfortable around you because you see through masks. Not intentionally, not aggressively, but effortlessly. Your presence invites authenticity, and not everyone is ready for that confrontation. This is also why you value solitude more than most. Silence does not scare you, it restores you. Alone time is not loneliness for you. It is recalibration. It is where your spirit breathes again. God often pulls chosen ones away from crowds to protect their sensitivity. Too much exposure dulls discernment. Too many voices confuse direction. God knows this, so he leads you into quieter spaces. You may have judged yourself for not enjoying what others enjoy. Parties, gossip, excess, noise. But your spirit was never designed to feed on that. You crave meaning. You seek substance. You value depth over distraction. Fitting in would have cost you clarity. There were moments you wondered if something was wrong with you because you outgrew people quickly. Conversations that once excited you now bored you. Environments that once felt safe now felt heavy. That's not instability, that's growth. God moves you forward by making old places uncomfortable. This separation also taught you independence. You learned how to stand alone without becoming bitter. You learned how to walk away without needing closure. You learned how to be misunderstood without explaining yourself. That is strength. Spiritual authority is built in solitude. When you stop needing approval, your decisions become clearer. When you stop seeking validation, obedience becomes easier. You were never meant to blend into systems that thrive on sameness. You were meant to disrupt gently, illuminate quietly, and stand firmly in truth. This is why fitting in always felt exhausting, because your spirit was carrying something that required room to breathe. Let go of the guilt for not belonging everywhere. You were never supposed to. God did not design you to fit into this world comfortably. He designed you to walk through it consciously. And once you accept this, once you stop forcing yourself into spaces that drain you, peace will return. Not because you have more people around you, but because you finally honor who God created you to be. You are not alone because you are rejected. You are set apart because you are assigned. And that distinction changes everything. Let me add this, because many of you are still carrying unnecessary guilt about walking away. There were times when you stayed longer than you should have. You tolerated disrespect, confusion, and emotional imbalance because you feared being alone. You told yourself that loyalty meant endurance, but God had to teach you that loyalty without alignment becomes self-betrayal. And He corrected you gently, then firmly, until you learned. Walking away was not failure. It was obedience. Chosen ones are often made to feel selfish when they choose peace, but peace is not selfish when chaos threatens your spirit. God never asked you to sacrifice your mental health to prove love. He never asked you to remain in places where your discernment was constantly ignored. You also learned that distance reveals truth. When you stepped back, patterns became clear. Motives surfaced. Intentions exposed themselves. And what once confused you suddenly made sense. Space gave you sight. This is why God taught you detachment, not coldness, not indifference, but clarity. Detachment allowed you to love without losing yourself, to care without compromising your spirit, to remain kind without being consumed. You were also trained to be comfortable being misunderstood. That was not cruelty. That was preparation. If you need constant explanation, you cannot carry truth freely. God strengthened you so you could stand firm even when narratives formed without your voice. And here is the final truth in this layer. Fitting in would have made you smaller. Standing apart made you stronger. The right people will not require you to shrink. The right environments will not drain you. The right connections will feel peaceful, not confusing. Until then, honor the season of separation. It is not punishment, it is positioning. You are not losing people, you are gaining alignment, and alignment is where your peace lives. Stepping into your divine assignment without fear. Chosen one, now we come to a moment of truth. Everything you have heard so far was preparation for this understanding. God did not reveal your identity to overwhelm you. He revealed it to steady you, because knowing who you are changes how you move. Many chosen ones delay stepping into their assignment not because they lack faith, but because they fear responsibility. You know what carrying truth costs. You've lived the isolation. You've endured the misunderstanding. So when God nudges you forward, part of you hesitates, not out of disobedience, but out of awareness. Fear does not mean you are unqualified. Fear often appears when you are standing at the edge of obedience. Let me say this clearly. You do not need permission from people to walk with God. You do not need approval, applause, or validation to obey what He has placed on your heart. God never consulted crowds when He called prophets. He spoke privately, then expected obedience publicly. Many of you are waiting until you feel fully ready, until confidence arrives, until conditions feel perfect. But God does not call the prepared. He prepares the called. Readiness is built through movement, not hesitation. You've already noticed this pattern. When you waited too long, peace faded. When you moved gently but obediently, clarity followed. God meets you in motion. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It sounds reasonable. It says, wait, be cautious, don't rush. And while wisdom is important, delay rooted in fear eventually becomes disobedience. God's guidance comes with peace, even when the path is uncomfortable. You are not meant to force anything, but you are meant to respond. Stepping into your assignment does not mean becoming loud, dramatic, or visible overnight. God values obedience over performance. Sometimes your assignment begins quietly, in conversations, in prayer, in small acts of truth. In consistency, no one applauds. Do not underestimate hidden obedience. God watches what no one else sees. Many chosen ones fear making mistakes. They fear misrepresenting God. But God corrects his vessels gently. He would rather guide a willing heart than use a perfect one. Humility keeps you teachable, and teachable spirits grow safely. Your assignment is not about perfection, it is about alignment. You will not feel fearless. You will feel faithful. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is obedience in its presence. Every prophet felt inadequate at first. Every calling began with uncertainty. God accounted for that before he called you. This is why God trained you to rely on him instead of yourself. When you stop depending on your strength, his power becomes visible. Weakness does not disqualify you, it positions you. Another fear many of you carry is judgment. You worry about how others will perceive you, how they will label you. But understand this, you are already being judged, whether you move or stay still, whether you speak or remain silent. So you might as well obey God and be misunderstood for the right reasons. People may not understand your choices. They may question your direction. They may distance themselves. But obedience always clarifies purpose. Even rejection serves alignment. God also taught you patience because timing matters. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not rushing. You are arriving when your spirit is stable enough to carry what's next. God releases responsibility when maturity meets obedience. Do not compare your assignment to anyone else's. Comparison dilutes clarity. God custom designed your path. What works for others may not work for you. What looks slow to them may be precise to God. You don't need to explain your obedience, you need to live it. Stepping forward may feel uncomfortable because it requires trust. Trust that God will sustain you. Trust that he will provide. Trust that he will correct you when needed. Trust that he will open doors you cannot force. And he will. Your role is not to control outcomes, it is to remain aligned. God handles the results. When fear rises, return to surrender. When doubt appears, return to prayer. When confusion clouds your mind, return to stillness. God's guidance becomes clearer when your spirit is calm. Remember this, God never reveals the full path at once. He gives light for the next step, and that is enough. You are not stepping into the unknown. You are stepping into obedience, and obedience has always been the safest place to stand. Take another breath. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are being invited forward, and when you move, even quietly, heaven responds. Conclusion, confirmation, blessing, and call to alignment. Chosen one, before we close, let me speak this over you with clarity and peace. Nothing about your life has been accidental. Not the delays, not the losses, not the isolation, not even the confusion. Every step, every pause, every redirection was guided by a God who saw further than you could. You were never overlooked. You were never forgotten. You were never late. God works outside of human timelines, and he brings his chosen forward only when their spirit is strong enough to carry what's next. You are not broken. You are refined. You are not weak. You are aware, and awareness is a gift. The prophets were not special because they were perfect. They were chosen because they were willing to listen, willing to obey, willing to stand alone if necessary. And that same willingness lives inside you. If this message stirred something deep within you, it's because your spirit recognized truth. God confirms his people quietly, not through noise, but through resonance. Peace settles when truth arrives. So release the pressure to figure everything out. Release the need to explain yourself. Release the fear of being misunderstood. Your responsibility is not to convince the world. It is to remain aligned with God. Walk forward, gently but firmly. Trust what God has placed inside you. Honor the discernment He trained through fire. And remember, obedience will always protect you more than approval ever could. Before you go, Chosen One, give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this message with other chosen ones who may be questioning their path right now. And comment 777 in the comments as a declaration that you are aligned, obedient, and ready to walk fully in what God has prepared for you. You are not alone on this journey. You are chosen, and God is with you.